I thought collapsing during a staff presentation was the lowest point of my life, but it was only the beginning. No one came when I needed them, and a mysterious message from my sister hinted at secrets I couldn't understand. 4 days later, 73 missed calls and a text from my father revealed a danger far bigger than I could imagine. What I discovered next would change everything I thought I knew about my family and myself. The conference room was filled with the usual hum of chatter, laptops clicking, and the faint smell of stale coffee. I stood at the front, PowerPoint ready, trying to channel all my nerves into composure. Weeks of preparation led to this moment, a staff presentation that could define the next chapter of my career. My slides were polished, my speech rehearsed, but as I gestured toward the screen, the room spun violently. I stumbled over my words, my hand clutching the podium for balance. The bright fluorescent lights above flickered, or maybe it was just my vision betraying me. "Anna," someone called. I wanted to answer, but my knees buckled. Everything became a haze of murmurs, concerned faces, and then blackness. When I woke up, I was lying on a stretcher in the back of an ambulance. The paramedic's voice was calm, but carried an undertone that made my chest tighten. "We tried every number," he said, checking my foredrip. No answer. Nobody came. I tried to process what he meant. No one. My team? My voice was weak, cracking under the weight of exhaustion and embarrassment. "Everyone is busy, or absent, but you're stable now." I wanted to cry, scream, or laugh. My colleagues, my so-called friends at work, had just left me there, alone. The paramedic gave me a sympathetic look. "You need rest. For fluids will help. Don't stress about the missed calls. You were in no condition to respond anyway." I nodded weakly, staring at the ceiling as the ambulance doors closed. My phone was silent, a black rectangle lying on the counter in the apartment I barely remembered walking into. Hours later, my phone buzzed, a notification lighting up the screen. It was a photo tagged by my sister. My chest tightened as I saw the image, her smiling with my parents and cousins, wine glasses raised. Caption: "Celebrating family without the drama." I did not comment. I just stared. The betrayal stung worse than the collapse itself. It was one thing to be physically weak, but the emotional isolation cut deeper. For the next 4 days, the 4 kept me tethered to the hospital bed. My body healed slowly, but my heart felt raw. Then, just as I had begun to think everyone had completely abandoned me, my phone lit up like a fireworks display. 73 missed calls and a single text from Dad. "Pick up. This is bigger than you realize. It's serious." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore it. After all, everyone else had. But something in my father's tone, even through text, compelled me to answer. "Hello." My voice was hoarse. "Anna, it's your father," he said, his tone grave, heavy. "You need to come home. Now. And don't ask questions over the phone. Just come." I swallowed hard, the adrenaline mixing with a lingering fatigue from the collapse. Okay, I'll come." The line went dead, and suddenly, my hospital room felt smaller, suffocating, as the weight of unspoken truths pressed in. Something had happened while I was unconscious, something bigger than family drama, bigger than missed calls or abandonment. I didn't know what awaited me, but I had no choice. I needed to face it. And that night, as the foredrip ticked slowly beside me, I realized this story was just beginning. The drive home felt longer than usual. Every red light seemed to mock me. Every passing car a reminder that life had moved on without me. My hospital bag sat next to me, the faint scent of antiseptic still clinging to my clothes. My mind raced with questions. What could be bigger than I realize? Why had no one come when I collapsed? I arrived at my parents' house as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the driveway. Dad was waiting on the porch, his posture rigid, hands clasped tightly in front of him. When he saw me, he didn't smile. He didn't hug me. He just pointed toward the car and said, "Go inside. Quickly." Inside, the air was heavy. Silence hung like a thick fog. Mom was in the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel, her face pale. My sister, Emily, stood by the window, arms crossed, her gaze unreadable. "Dad, what's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he handed me a sealed envelope. "Open it." Inside was a stack of documents, medical bills, letters, and, most shockingly, legal papers. My eyes widened as I scanned the contents. "Anna, someone has been trying to take control of the family estate," Dad said finally, his voice low and serious. "It's more than money. It's complicated. We didn't tell you because..." Well, we thought it would be better if you weren't involved yet. I felt a rush of anger. Better if I wasn't involved? Dad, I just collapsed. Nobody came for me. And you're telling me this is urgent? Mom stepped forward, her voice trembling. Anna, please, we didn't know what to do. You were vulnerable. Vulnerable? I snapped, gripping the papers. I nearly passed out in front of my colleagues, and no one cared. And now you spring this on me? After days of silence? Emily's lips pressed into a thin line. Anna, we were trying to handle it. We didn't want to worry you more than necessary. Handle it? I asked, my voice shaking. You weren't there. I was alone. Dad ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated yet pained. We've been keeping tabs, trying to manage things behind the scenes. But it escalated faster than we anticipated. That's why I called you. There's no time for arguments. There's someone threatening the entire family's future. A silence fell over the room. The gravity in his voice made my chest tighten. Something about his words was different, calm, but filled with an unspoken urgency. Threatening? Who? I whispered. Dad's eyes darted around the room. We don't know exactly, but there's a group, powerful, dangerous. They're after the estate, and possibly us. And you, Anna, are now a key part of this. That's why the calls, the missed messages. We needed you to be safe until we knew more. I sank into a chair, the weight of the revelation pressing down on me. My collapse suddenly felt insignificant compared to what Dad was revealing. The family I thought had abandoned me had been trying to protect me in a way I hadn't understood. Then Emily stepped forward. Anna, we're going to need your help. You're more involved than you think. You were part of the reason they've targeted us. Part of the reason? I repeated, horrified. I don't understand. Dad leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. That's why I said it's bigger than you realize. And it's serious. Very serious. This isn't about presentations or family drama. It's about survival. For a moment, I felt the room spin again, though this time it wasn't illness. It was fear, confusion, and the realization that my life had changed in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. Then what do we do? I asked, my voice barely steady. Dad's eyes met mine, and for the first time in years, I saw the weight of responsibility in them, the same weight I would soon have to bear. First, he said slowly, you need to trust us. Then, you need to act, because waiting isn't an option. And in that moment, I understood nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, I barely slept. The events of the previous night swirled through my mind like a storm. Dad's urgency, Emily's cryptic warnings, and the documents that hinted at a danger I couldn't yet grasp. Even the familiar walls of my childhood room felt different, heavy with secrets. Dad was already up when I stumbled into the kitchen. He handed me a mug of coffee, his face taut with concern. You need to be alert today. No distractions, he said. Alert? For what exactly? I asked, taking a shaky sip. He ignored my question and motioned toward the table, where a laptop sat open. A series of emails flashed across the screen, threatening, cold, and calculated. One subject line caught my eye. We know she's vulnerable. Move carefully. I felt my stomach drop. They're watching me? Yes, Dad said simply. And if they think we're divided, they'll exploit it. That's why we didn't tell anyone else. No one outside this house can know, yet. Emily, standing nearby, added, Anna, this isn't just business. They've been planning this for months. Whoever is behind it, they're ruthless. And they've already tried to test us. You were their first test. I flinched. The collapse. Emily nodded grimly. They knew you'd be presenting. They wanted to see if anyone would come to your aid. The fact that no one did, they used it as a measure. And now, they know you're involved. I sank into a chair, feeling the weight of betrayal once more, but this time it was different. It wasn't just hurt feelings, it was fear. Real, sharp fear. Then what now? I asked, my voice shaking. Dad's eyes met mine with steely determination. We move strategically. We protect the estate. We protect each other. And we find out who's behind this before it's too late. Just then, my phone buzzed violently on the counter. I froze. Every missed call, every message from the past few days suddenly felt like a warning I hadn't heeded. Who is it? Dad asked. I picked it up. The screen displayed a single unknown number. Hesitating, I answered. Hello. A distorted voice responded, cold and deliberate. You thought you could hide, but you can't. You've already been seen. Every move you make, every call, we're watching. The line went dead. My hands trembled. Dad's face darkened. That was them, he said. You just heard it. Emily grabbed my arm. Anna, this is serious. They've crossed a line. We need to go through the contingency plan. Now, what contingency plan? I asked, panic rising. Dad opened a drawer and pulled out a thick binder, edges worn and frayed. Inside were plans, codes, emergency contacts, even evacuation routes. It looked like a manual for surviving something I never imagined could touch my life. You've been shielded from this because, frankly, you were young, Dad said, flipping through the pages. But now you're in it. There's no going back. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Fear clawed at me, but beneath it was something sharper, resolve. Somehow, against all odds, I would survive. I had to. Emily looked at me, her expression softening for the first time that morning. We're going to get through this together, but you have to trust us completely. I will, I whispered, my voice barely audible. As I looked at my family, Dad, Mom, Emily, I realized something. I had felt abandoned before, during my collapse, when everyone seemed to ignore me. But now, the stakes were higher. This wasn't about petty fights or ignoring calls. This was life and death. And if I survived, it would mean confronting truths I wasn't ready for. The sun rose higher, casting a pale light through the windows. Outside, the world seemed normal. But inside these walls, everything had changed. The real battle was only beginning. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparation. Dad briefed us on surveillance cameras, secure entrances, and emergency protocols. Emily helped me memorize codes, contacts, and safe words. Every step was meticulous, every movement calculated. But the fear in my chest refused to subside. By evening, I felt trapped in a tension so thick it seemed to press down on my chest. Every knock at the door made me flinch. Every phone buzz sent my heart racing. And then, just as the last light of day slipped through the blinds, a shadow appeared outside the kitchen window. "Who's there?" Dad called, his voice calm but commanding. No answer. Just a movement in the darkness, fleeting but deliberate. My stomach twisted. Emily whispered, "They're testing us. They want to see how alert we are." Dad grabbed a flashlight and moved to the window, his hand steady, but his jaw tight. I followed, my own hands trembling. And then I saw him, a man in dark clothing, face partially obscured. He lingered for a moment, just outside the perimeter of the garden, before vanishing into the night. "They're watching," Dad said simply. "And they're patient. We need to be ready for when they make their move." The rest of the night passed in an uneasy silence. Sleep was impossible. Every sound, wind against the windows, a car passing on the street, even our own footsteps, felt amplified, threatening. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time, I hesitated less and answered immediately. "Anna," the same distorted voice said. "You can't hide. You're already in the center of it. Make one wrong move, and the consequences will reach everyone you love." I felt my hands go cold. "What do you want from me?" I demanded. Silence. Then a click. The line went dead. Dad came up behind me, his hand on my shoulder. "They want fear," he said quietly. "They want us to panic. Don't give them that. Remember, control your emotions, trust the plan." I nodded, though inside I felt a storm brewing. The next day, things escalated further. A package arrived at the house, a simple box, no markings. Inside, a single photograph. Me, collapsed at the presentation, surrounded by empty chairs. Written across the bottom in jagged handwriting. "We saw everything. No one cares. But we do." I felt a wave of anger, humiliation, and dread wash over me. Dad and Emily read the note with me, their expressions grim. "They're taunting us," Dad said. "They're testing our limits. But we can't react impulsively. That's exactly what they want." Emily clenched her fists. "I want to find them. I want to stop this now." "No," Dad said firmly. "We act on strategy, not emotion. Patience is our weapon." That night, we reinforced every entry, double-checked every contact, and ran through emergency scenarios until exhaustion dragged us down. Sleep came in short, uneasy bursts. Dreams of shadowy figures and whispered threats haunted me. Through it all, I realized one thing. The collapse that had once felt like betrayal now seemed like a prelude, a test for what was coming. Those who had ignored me before? Irrelevant. What mattered was survival, understanding the enemy, and learning to trust the family I had once felt abandoned by. But as I drifted into a light, restless sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that the first direct confrontation was only the beginning. Something more dangerous, more personal, was waiting just beyond the shadows. And I knew, deep down, that when it came, nothing would be the same again. The next morning, tension hung over the house like a storm cloud refusing to break. Every movement felt calculated, every glance suspicious. The previous night's shadow outside the window and the threatening phone call left us all on edge. But Dad had one more step planned. A meeting with a family lawyer and a private investigator who had been monitoring the situation for weeks. As we gathered in the study, the investigator, a tall woman with sharp eyes named Vanessa, laid out the facts. The group targeting your family isn't random. They're organized, methodical, and deeply invested in taking control of your estate. But there's more. Someone inside your circle may have been leaking information. My stomach turned. Inside someone in the family? Vanessa nodded. It's possible. Your family is influential, and wealth attracts more than just opportunists outside. Unfortunately, betrayal often comes from within. Dad's hand clenched into a fist. We suspected as much. That's why information was restricted, and why Anna, he paused, looking at me, was kept out of the loop until now. Emily crossed her arms. So all this time, the collapse, the missed calls, the drama, it wasn't just negligence? It was connected? It could be, Vanessa said. We need to confirm everything. Every communication, every interaction, every contact you've had in the last 6 months needs to be reviewed. I felt a chill run down my spine. My own sister had tagged me in that family photo with the caption, "Celebrating family without the drama." Could Emily have been involved? No. I shook my head. I couldn't think that way, not yet. Mom broke the silence. We have to be careful who we trust. Even small details, like who had access to your presentation files, matter. Dad nodded. We'll start with the people closest to us. Nothing can be assumed. Anna, you need to be careful with every interaction, every call, every message. Over the next 2 days, we combed through emails, texts, and phone records. Vanessa's investigation revealed troubling patterns. Unknown numbers contacting staff, vague inquiries about schedules, and subtle but consistent attempts to destabilize our household. And then the biggest shock came. A hidden email chain, carefully buried, revealed that someone had been trying to influence my sister Emily behind the scenes, planting seeds of resentment, isolating her, and manipulating her perspective of me. Emily, you were being used, Dad said gently, handing her a printout. They wanted division. They wanted chaos. Not betrayal from you, manipulation. Emily's face went pale. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know. I thought it was just my own feelings. I didn't realize. I reached out and took her hand. It's not your fault. None of this is. We've all been played. Vanessa looked at us. The next phase is critical. The group behind this knows you're aware now. They may escalate. You need to anticipate direct threats, and fast. That night, as we fortified the house, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief because Emily had not betrayed me by choice. Dread because the enemy was clever, patient, and merciless. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, thinking of the first moment I collapsed, alone and abandoned. It felt like a lifetime ago. Now, the stakes were unimaginable, and I knew that to protect my family, I would have to face fears I had never imagined. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. Inside, our bond strengthened. But even as trust returned, a question lingered. How far would the enemy go to tear us apart? And were we truly ready for what was coming next? The following evening arrived with a tension that made every second feel drawn out. Dad insisted on a strict watch schedule. Emily and I were stationed near the main entrance, scanning the darkened street through the blinds, while Mom stayed by the phone, ready to call for help at the first sign of trouble. Hours passed without incident, and I began to wonder if the threat was as immediate as Vanessa had warned. Then, without warning, a loud bang shattered the quiet of the night. The front door handle rattled violently. "Get down," Dad shouted, pulling us behind the couch. I could hear muffled voices outside, speaking in low tones that I couldn't quite make out. Fear surged through me, but so did a strange, focused determination. No more collapse. No more helplessness. I would not be ignored this time. Dad peeked out a small gap in the blinds. "It's them. I can see masks." Emily's hand trembled in mine. What do we do?" Dad's voice was calm but firm. "We follow the plan. You stay with us. No sudden moves. Let's see who they are and what they want." Minutes dragged like hours. Then the door burst open with a violent kick. Shadows poured into the room. I felt a surge of adrenaline. "Who are you?" I yelled, stepping forward despite the fear clawing at my chest. One of the intruders raised a hand, a gun glinting in the dim light. "Stay calm. We're not here to hurt. Not yet," he said. His voice was unsettlingly calm, almost mocking. We just want cooperation." Dad stepped forward, his eyes locked on the man. "We will not negotiate threats in our own home." The intruder's gaze shifted to me, and my stomach dropped. "You," he said, voice cold. "You've become more than a bystander. You've been informed. That changes everything." I realized then, the collapse, the missed calls, the family photo, everything had been orchestrated as part of a long game to manipulate and test us. They hadn't targeted just the estate, they had targeted me specifically. Emily whispered, "Anna, what do we do?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. "We fight smart, not reckless. We follow Dad's lead." The intruder raised the gun slightly, signaling others to advance. But before they could move further, a loud siren blared outside. The local authorities Vanessa had secretly contacted were arriving. Panic flashed across their masked faces. One of them tried to flee, but the flashing lights and approaching officers cut off every exit. Within minutes, the intruders were surrounded, cornered, and forced to surrender. Dad exhaled, finally letting some tension go. This is over for now," he said, though his voice held caution. "But we need to understand who sent them and why." Emily hugged me tightly. I thought we were finished. I was so scared. I hugged her back, tears streaming down my face. "We're not finished yet, but we survived. Together." As the officers took statements and secured the scene, I realized the depth of what had been happening while I was incapacitated. The collapse, the family's apparent distance, the threats. It was all part of a dangerous puzzle I had barely begun to understand. Later that night, sitting in my room with the force still attached, my phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. "We have answers, but some truths are bigger than you think. Prepare yourself." I stared at the message, heart pounding. Even though the immediate danger was contained, I knew this wasn't the end. The battle was far from over, and the next revelations might change everything I thought I knew about my family, my life, and myself. Part 7. The Truth Revealed. The next morning, the house felt eerily quiet. The intruders had been taken into custody, but the weight of what they'd represented still lingered. Dad called a family meeting in the study, with Vanessa present to guide us through the revelations. "Anna," Dad began, his voice heavy, "what you've experienced in the last week, your collapse, the isolation, the threats, it was all connected to something much larger than we initially let on." I sat, tense, waiting for the truth. Vanessa stepped forward. "The group that targeted your family isn't just after wealth. They were after influence. And they had an insider, someone using your family's own history against you." Emily's eyes widened. "Insider? Who?" Vanessa handed Dad a folder. Dad opened it carefully, revealing documents, photographs, and a series of emails. My heart skipped as I read the name at the top. It was Grandpa. "Grandpa," I whispered, disbelief heavy in my voice. He's behind this." Dad nodded slowly. "Not entirely. He's been manipulated too. The truth is more complicated. Years ago, he trusted someone close, someone who promised to safeguard the family's legacy, but that person betrayed him. This group took advantage of that, using him unknowingly to orchestrate their attacks." I sank into my chair, trying to process the layers of deception. So, everything, the collapse, the missed calls, even Emily's photo, it was all part of this. "Yes," Vanessa said. "They wanted to see how isolated you could become. They wanted to test your family's cohesion. They underestimated your resilience and your father's planning." Emily took my hand. "I feel like everything I thought I knew about our family, it's crumbling." Dad leaned forward. "It's not crumbling. It's evolving. You've seen who stands with you in real danger. You've seen who manipulates from the shadows. And now, we can finally confront it, together." For the first time, clarity replaced fear. I realized the collapse, the abandoned feeling. It had all prepared me for this moment. Not as a victim, but as part of a family battle I was now fully capable of facing. Vanessa continued, "We've traced the communications, intercepted messages, and identified the ringleaders. With your cooperation, Anna, we can finally secure your family's legacy and prevent this from ever happening again." I nodded, my resolve hardening. "I'm ready. No more hiding. No more collapse. Let's end this." That evening, the final confrontation took place, not with violence, but with strategy. Phone lines, emails, and financial controls were secured. Threats were neutralized. The manipulator behind Grandpa's involvement was exposed, their power dismantled piece by piece. After it was over, Dad turned to me. "Anna, you didn't just survive. You proved strength in the face of isolation. You helped save this family." Emily hugged me tightly, tears streaming. "I'm so proud of you. And I'm sorry for that photo. It was supposed to be harmless. I never knew." I smiled faintly, exhausted but triumphant. "It's okay. We survived. Together. And that's what matters." For the first time in days, the house felt calm. The fear and manipulation had been replaced by solidarity and trust. My collapse, once a symbol of weakness and abandonment, now felt like the turning point that revealed the true strength of my family and myself. As I lay in bed that night, phone removed, phone silenced, I realized something profound. Betrayal, threats, and fear might enter our lives, but courage, trust, and love define how we respond. And no one, not even the shadows of danger, could take that away from us. The storm had passed, and for the first time, I felt truly safe, truly seen, and truly part of a family that, despite everything, had endured.